Good afternoon, members. We are now live. Mayor Collier, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting of Ajax Council is being held in a hybrid meeting format with virtual and in-person participation by members of the public, staff, and council. This meeting is also being live streamed and may be viewed online at ajax.ca/live. A friendly reminder to all participants to please use your microphones at all times for the benefit of those participating in council chambers and joining remotely, and to those making submissions as part of a public meeting, please ensure you sign in using the sheet available at the accessible lectern to preserve rights available to you under the Planning Act or other applicable legislation. Land acknowledgements. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action and acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation, and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Get my place here. I think I forgot to say I'll call this meeting to order, so I'll call this meeting to order. Does any member of council have any pecuniary interest on items in today's agenda? And I'm looking at the speaker's box here because I can't see you all, so please press your microphone button. Okay, hearing none. Before we start, I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding, as I think there was last week. I do follow very closely the policy and procedure bylaw, and specifically I'm going to speak to policy and procedure bylaw section 11.7. No member shall speak to the same question for longer than 5 minutes. I do keep a timer of every member of council and their speaking, and I will let you know when you're at 1 minute and when you're at 30 seconds. I don't think I made that clear last time, so I'm making that clear now so there's no misunderstanding. Moving on to adoption of the minutes.
Point of personal privilege.
What is your point of privilege?
Thank you. I have requested accessible accommodations, and I assume that you have read my email dated March the 8th for that request.
You didn't send it to me. You sent it to the clerk and the CAO, I believe. I've been made aware of your request. We do have our policy and procedures. We have, I believe the CAO requested a legal opinion on your request and whatever other medical documentation may need to be provided. I don't really want to get into that today, but as of now, no, not concession, what's the word?
Accommodation?
No accommodation has been approved by the CAO, so we're still operating under the original policy and procedure of 11.7.
So under my personal point of privilege, I would just like to state, it's my understanding that an accessible accommodation, that procedural bylaw does not trump an accessible accommodation. So I will be timed today at 5 minutes, correct? And
Councillor Henry, you called a point of privilege, which means something that has been said or done has impugned you or insulted you in some way. I'm going to rule that point of privilege out of order.
this is with regards to an accessible accommodation. So that would be
I
an
understand.
insult. That would be an insult to deny it. So I am asking, are you giving me the 10 minutes or not?
No, we are following
Thank
policy
you.
procedure schedule 11.7.
Thank you.
Henry, your point of privilege is overruled.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to adoption of the minutes, and again, I'm looking at the speaker's box for those to, actually, you know what, just to expedite things, I'm going to do what I did last time if no member of council has an objection, and just go through Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 3 for moving and second of each item. Does anybody have an objection to that approach?
I do.
Councillor
you.
Andrew, you have an objection to that approach?
Yes, because my name might go against something to be moved that I don't want moved.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
So on the minutes, can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Dyes. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March 25th, 2024 be adopted. Any errors, omissions, questions, or comments on the minutes? Hearing, seeing none, please vote.
Members, we're waiting on one individual to vote. Thank you.
Okay, that carries. Bear with me, I do have to go back and forth between several screens. Mr. Clerk, does anybody in the public have any questions in question period on items on today's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we have not received any written questions. Are there any members of the public here today who have questions about today's agenda? It does not appear that there are any.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to delegations, presentations, and public meetings. We have two. I understand 5.3 has been withdrawn. Mr. Nichols is not well. So we'll go ahead with delegation, Community Living Month, Shine a Light campaign. Siobhan Pierce, Employment Specialist, Community Living, Ajax, Pickering and Whitby. Shannon Goddard, Team Lead of Community Participation Program, Community Living, Ajax, Pickering and Whitby. And Crystal Greg, Self-Advocate, Community Living, Ajax, Pickering and Whitby. Please come forward, sign in, and you'll have 5 minutes for your delegation.
Where do I start? Yeah. Community Living Ajax Pickering Whitby is dedicated to supporting people with special needs, disabilities, so they can live full lives in effective safety with inclusive, supported their own communities. They serve mission by offering a broad range of personalized supports and services closely aligned with their individual goals and choice of where they want to live, learn, work, and enjoy their leisure time. Services offered are accommodation supports, community participation supports, supported employment program, supported individual living, advocates group, treatment home host families, intensive supports, urgent response, individual funding, individual transition planning, and case management services. We consist of 11 advocates who work to not only advocate for ourselves in the community, but also others who can advocate for themselves. Our group prides itself on giving to the community. We've hosted fundraising movies, have given to the food drives, local charities, and adopted seniors for Christmas. We have become partners with Kids Safety Village in Whitby. The group has also made connections with Advocates A-Team Group, Community Living Durham North, and Advocate Group in Ireland, where we work together virtualized to share advocacies, ideas, and real-life stories. This year, we'll be hosting a leisure in Toronto on May 8th for question period. We were working with the Town of Ajax Accessibility Community as new partner. Will be helping us run Community Living Month celebration on May 23rd at 177 Downey Road, Ajax, and setting up booths, many other events to promote advocacy. Community Living Month is an annual awareness campaign that recognizes, celebrates accomplishments in the community living movement. This year's theme is authentic inclusion, representing the importance of fostering the sense of meaningful inclusion and belonging alongside people with international disability and their families in true ethnic ways. Throughout the month, people can share the meaningful messages about why people with international disabilities along with in their community. Join us by using the hashtag CLMonth2024 and authentic inclusion in our post to spread the word about community living movement. Shine the blue and green lights at home and or workplace. What are we asking the town council to participate in the Shine a Light campaign? Join us Monday, May 1st, and light up blue and green outside the town hall and support community living movement. Together we can create powerful symbol of inclusion that will shine not only in the community, but throughout many others around the province. Durham Region has agreed to light up the region headquarters blue and green. Toronto CN Tower will light up green and blue to celebrate the achievements of movement. Many other landmarks will. Will you shine a light at the town hall?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your delegation. Do we have any questions? We have Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. So will we light up Town Hall?
Yeah.
Blue and green? That is a thing? Okay.
I think we're going to have to go to Cassandra and see, because it's not a lot of notice and it takes some time. Ms. Luciano?
Through the chair to Regional Councillor Crawford, yes, we will reach out to our contractor that provides it and ensure if they're available, we will make it happen.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further, Councillor Crawford? No. So Councillor Bauer, you are next.
Thank you very much, Mayor Collier. Thank you very much for the excellent presentation, and thank you for being here today. I had a question. It's not actually on your presentation, but I remember the last time I was at your facility, you had a really nice community garden, I think, going in the back. I was just wondering, how's that going? Do you want to answer? Go ahead.
It's doing well. It's still a little early yet, but every year we add to it, and we have actually a cleanup day at the building where we tidy everything up and kind of get everything ready for spring. So it's progressing well. Thanks for asking.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Please send an invite to council if you need extra hands for your cleanup day.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you. That was my question, Mayor Collier. Thank you.
Welcome. I don't see any other speakers in the speakers list, so I will just close with saying thank you for your delegation. We will be not officially, but unofficially referring this to staff for consideration, and we will get back to you if this is something that we are able to do. Thank you for today. Moving on to our, oh, sorry. I see you in the speakers list, so you're gone. Siobhan, do you want to make a comment?
They've concluded their remarks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Clerk. Moving on to the next item, proclamation, section 5.2, Youth Week 2024. We have Ashley McWhirter, Community Recreation Coordinator, and Tashawn Hofstede, Program Supervisor, Youth Hubs. Please come forward, sign in, make your delegation or your presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor Collier, members of council, town staff, and residents. Thank you for welcoming us here today. My name is Ashley McWhirter, and I'm the Community Recreation Coordinator for Youth Development within the Recreation and Culture Department. Working with members of our Youth Engagement Advisory Committee, we strive to create positive opportunities for youth by providing them with quality programs, spaces, and services in their community, such as celebrating our annual Youth Week. Many of our youth events and programs have been influenced by youth from the YAC and from our youth spaces and hubs to procure participation and interest. Youth Week is a provincial celebration held annually from May 1st to May 7th. Meaningful youth engagement through recreation emphasizes access, equity, and social justice and leads to positive youth development. National Youth Week reminds us of the valuable contributions that recreation and culture can make to youth development and that youth make to their community. The Youth Engagement Advisory Committee has had another busy term. I'm just going to move this over here. In October, we hosted our annual Haunted House event. YAC received the Community Event Award for the 2023 Ajax Community Awards. Youth participated in updating the atmosphere of the ACC youth space in addition to redesigning a new YAC logo to be launched this September. The youth shared their feedback in multiple surveys and presentations, and most recently they've been working hard on designing events for Youth Week that they will be running during our youth room times throughout the week, such as Ice Cream Sunday making, game tournaments, and Mindful Monday, which includes journal writing and rock painting. I would like to introduce Program Director Tyshawn Hofstad, who oversees the Youth Hub that operates out of Ajax High School, to share events that will be taking place this week.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon. My name is Tyshawn Hofstad. I supervise and coordinate the Youth Hub drop-in program located at Ajax High School, known to our youth as Our Place, or OP for short. We operate every day after school from 3:30 to 6 p.m. It offers a variety of programs such as art, cooking, active living, homework help, as well as resume building. We're a program that prides itself on building relationships with youth so they are comfortable to express themselves, as well as being able to come to us for support, otherwise that they would not look for among school faculty. So with that, during Youth Week, Our Place will be showcasing student success, as well as highlighting what they do in the community. There'll be various giveaways and contests, as well as dedicated programming that we have run throughout the year that has been most popular among the youths. As well as at the youth fair coming up, we will be presenting awards to 3 to 5 youths who have had a positive influence among their peers and in the community. So to kick off Youth Week across Ajax, all youth spaces will be giving away prizes, as well as having special events taking place each evening, which will be hosted by the YEAC. Followed by that, we will be celebrating youth with the youth fair, which will be held Thursday, May 2nd from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Ollie Recreation Center. The fair will consist of community organizations that support the youth. There will be inflatable obstacle courses, games, prizes, and of course, food. The town of Ajax will continue to celebrate youth all week by offering free programs such as drop-in basketball, yoga, and new this year is a skateboard basics day, a mixed media art, as well as a success support workshop. The celebration throughout the week is a reminder of the potential in youth as agents of change and the importance of their involvement in shaping and providing a better future for all. For more details on Youth Week and events, please visit ajax.ca/youthweek. On behalf of all Ajax youth, I express my thanks for this opportunity and your gracious support in proclaiming May 1st to May 7th as Youth Week in Ajax. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Questions? We have Councillor Lee. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to Tyshawn and Ashley for the presentation. It's my favorite part about Youth Week is you guys mix up the events each and every year. This year, you mentioned a mixed media arts. What is that exactly?
It's going to be a variety of different art techniques. So our staff that operates it, she's skilled in all different levels. So there'll be oil, different types of paint, and different like sketching. So we're going to have a lot of things that will kind of combine to anybody's interests.
And do you have the numbers of like previous years, how many youths we've had out at all these events?
Yes, we do have all the statistics. I think we see probably 200 to 300 throughout the week.
Great.
And in our individualized, specialized programs, which would be like the art, the yoga, skateboarding, we see about 20 to 25 come out for those. And then in the drop-in sports is a lot higher, which is closer to 40.
Great.
And about 100 at our big event.
Is there anything we could be doing? I ask this every single year, so no surprise. We could be doing to help promote this, to increase those numbers to 60, 80 as opposed to 20, 40.
That's a good question for you, since you see them every day. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, well, I feel like we do have like a good support, but amongst my youth, when I ask them what more they would like to see, obviously the main thing is food, unfortunately. Yeah.
Gotta feed you, is what you're saying, right?
I know.
Okay.
That works.
I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah.
We'll take that away.
Yeah.
Just thank you both for all your efforts again. I'm looking forward to an exciting Youth Week. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Bauer, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. Excellent presentation. So I just have 3 questions. I saw something called Beats and Barbers. And I would love to know a little bit more about that program and how did that come about?
Well, it was a program that was discussed amongst me and the principal of Ajax High. So we kind of thought of just providing like a barbershop atmosphere where like we would have local barbers come in, maybe give like a haircut and just have like good discussions about life and all that for a lot of like the male youth that come to our space. So we've from last year we had it was a successful start, but we've had our issues this year just securing more barbers and just like what they would want, the barbers what they wanted and what we were looking for just wasn't seen eye to eye. So unfortunately we've had our struggles, but we are looking to possibly have like hairstylists for maybe like some of our female participants.
Okay.
So it was a good start, but
It's an
we're just
excellent idea.
Yeah.
Excellent idea. Maybe if you feed them.
Yeah, I know. That's what they tell me.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. What
Yeah.
a brilliant idea. And just a reminder, the age of youth that are welcome to attend this event. What's the age range?
11 to 18.
11 to 18. And is it open to Ajax residents only?
It is. It's promoted through Ajax residents. Sometimes it's hard to tell, especially at our larger events, if they're coming from Pickering or Whitby, or perhaps they go to an Ajax school, they would still be included.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. And congratulations on the award that you won. The
Thank you.
YEAC,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Welcome. Next, Councillor Crawford is next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there any way that you can add all these events into our calendars? And are we allowed to come?
Yes. I will add them all, and you're invited to everything.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Okay, I don't see anyone else in the speakers list. So I will say we do have a proclamation, Mr. Clerk, and I'll suggest maybe I should refer you to my barber as well. He may be interested. The Corporation Town of Ajax hereby proclaims May 1st to 7th, 2024 as Youth Week, presented on behalf of the Mayor and Ajax Council side by myself today. Thank you very much for your delegation, and I hope you have a very successful Youth Week.
Thank you.
I saw people at the front. Are you doing a pick? Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, members are just returning to their seats.
Ah, okay. I couldn't see what was going on.
Mr. Mayor, we have a member of the public that would like to ask a question. Will you permit that at this time?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Please come forward.
I didn't ask, but I assume it's on matters contained in today's agenda?
It's on the delegation, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's more like a comment because I deal with a lot of schools and with a lot of youth, and I know how important this is, very beneficial to the youth. I was wondering if we could advertise to other schools as well in the region so they will know that that's youth group or youth week, because some of the schools don't. And also by offering transportation, if that would help increase the amount of youth. So that was my thing, because it's a great idea, and I'm able to advertise it everywhere and help them out. That's what it is.
Okay, is Ashley still there to speak to this?
Sorry. Yes, I spoke to her in passing, and she gave me her card, so we're going to be in contact, and any help that we can get the word out would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, we have items of correspondence. I have been given a heads up by Councillor Crawford. You want to pull items 5 and 14, I believe, Councillor Crawford? Oh, press your button again. There we go.
Yes, please.
Okay. Are there any other polls from members of council? Seeing, hearing none, can I get a mover and a seconder, believe, for the balance of 5 or 14? Moved by Councillor Tyler Moore and seconded by Councillor Lee. That the report dated April 15th, 2024, containing items of correspondence, except items 5 and 14, be received for information. Please vote. And those carry. Councillor Crawford, are these both to endorse?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead. Item 5.
So on number 5, it is the town of Whitby is got a motion to remove the tolls on the 407. I think it's probably, as Kevin Nash would say, if you believe in unicorns and bows, then that would happen. But I also think that there's nothing wrong with asking. And I think if the community of Whitby and the council of Whitby is asking this of the government, that I want to support that also.
Okay, motion to endorse. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Tyler Moore, and are you there to second?
Yes, I will.
Okay, on the motion to endorse,
Could I
anyone
say,
wish to speak to it?
am I allowed to just say
Yeah,
something?
go ahead.
Just very quickly, as I always say, I watch myself on YouTube, and I always say, just very quickly. I was thinking the province, with the amount of traffic that we all know on the 401, you hear all these stats, apparently it's the busiest highway. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cheaper for the province if they removed the tolls and took the hit rather than building a new highway? That's my comment. It just seems very simple. Remove the tolls, you don't have to build a new highway. Yeah, anyways, those are my comments. Happy to second.
I assume you're speaking to the redo of Highway 7 from Rome over, I believe it is.
Sorry, and speaking to this, the item that was pulled in regards to removing the tolls. Yeah, that's what I was speaking to. Thank you.
I tend to agree. I will just point out that I believe the province only owns the section from Brock out to 35-115. I think the other section, the original section, is owned by a for-profit corporation, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the motion is to endorse. Anything further on the motion? Seeing, hearing none in the chat box, can we please vote on motion to endorse? That is carried. Councillor Crawford, you still have the floor.
Thank you. The next one is to do with the automated speed enforcement cameras and asking the province to allow it to be not restricted to only areas of safety, community safety zones and school zones. And I wholeheartedly would like to endorse this because we do know that, yes, it's important to keep the speeds down around our schools and our parks. However, we do have streets in our town that could use a camera that will never get a camera because there's no schools or parks on them. So I would like to endorse this. And I'm sure I have a seconder. I didn't even ask. Okay.
Councillor Bauer, are you seconding?
Yes, I am, Mayor Collier. Thank you.
Do you want to speak to this?
No, I think it's a great idea. Happy to second, and we should endorse it 100%.
Okay. I'll just speak to it very quickly because I have been obviously a big advocate for automatic speed enforcement. And Councillor Bauer, can you turn your mic?
Sorry.
And I'm very frustrated, as those at my mayor's meetings will tell you, about the hoops that we have to jump through to, first of all, designate a section as a community safety zone and then put up signage at great expense for 90 days to forewarn people, and then having limitations from the Joint Processing Center on how many tickets so we don't overrun the courts and blah, 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 just to try and enforce what is a fairly simple thing. And I think a couple of minor amendments to the Highway Traffic Act would go a long way to allow that. Also, to take it one step further, things like other types of enforcement where using license plate readers, automated in no parking zones, a lot of other things that we're restricted to because of the current Highway Traffic Act. So happy to support this. Anything further? No? Please vote. Carries unanimously. Moving on to our next item. Community Affairs and Planning, we don't have any. General Government Committee. Get to my resolutions. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please, for the April 8th GGC meeting? Moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Bauer. That the General Government Committee report dated April 8th, 2024 be adopted. Questions, comments? Hearing, seeing none. Open the vote, please, Ms. Clerk. That carries. Next is a summary of advisory committee activities. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Tyler Morin. That the summary of advisory committee activities report dated April 15th, 2024, as attached to the meeting agenda be received for information, and that the recommendations contained therein be referred to staff where applicable. Questions? Councillor Tyler Morin, do you have questions?
I do not.
Oops.
Sorry, I do not.
Button.
Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Bauer, I saw your name, but you'll need to press your button again.
My mistake,
There we
Mayor
go.
Collier. No questions.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything in the speakers list, so let's go to the vote. That carries. Next item. There are no departmental reports. Regional Council reports. Councillor Crawford, you have submitted a written Regional Council support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to draw your attention to a pilot program that's going to be happening as of July 1st to go to a one-bin system for garbage. It's a 35-gallon, I believe it is, 35-gallon garbage pail that will hold roughly 3 bags of garbage on rollers. It's a stock picture. I don't know that that's exactly what it's going to look like, but that's but this is going to be happening as the Blue Bin program is rolling out. It's a very small project, pilot project happening in Ward 2. I put the map in there, and I've asked actually staff when they start to deliver it if the councillors would be interested in having a photo op, then we can do that in the garbage can. Yeah, I fit perfectly. And so that there's another one in the region also, I believe, but this is the one that's happening in Ajax. So I thought the Ward 2 councillors would be interested in that. This is great. This is something that residents have been asking for. So you don't have to have individual garbage pails, everything. There's a 3-bag limit anyway when the Blue Bin program rolls out. The Green Bin expands, and so we're going to hopefully a 3-bag garbage thing. If you end up having more than 3 bags, you would have to get a tag. You can still have more, but you just have to get a tag. But these bins will comfortably fit 3 bags of garbage. The next one is the water station, also in Ward 2. They're going to be expanding that with the growth that's happening in Durham Region and Brock. It is to do with Whitby, Oshawa, Curtis system is all run out of that system. So the idea is they will be doing the EA study coming up this year. They plan to build behind the building, and then they will demo the front building. So it's likely to begin, I believe, the EA process is starting in 2026, right in time for the election. So just so you know, so they are anticipating minimal disruption because they're building behind first. And then when that's all built and up and running, then they'll do the demo in the front part. Just thought you might be interested in that. Other than that, if you have any questions, yes. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Crawford, are you speaking about the water treatment plant down at the lake?
Nope, this is at Harwood and Roslyn. The little guy that's too close to the road, that one.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I see questions, but I'm going to just let the other two regional councillors give their reports first if they have any. Councillor Lee, Councillor Dyes, did you have a report? Councillor Lee?
I think the most pressing one would be, I think it's Bill 185, the cutting red tape to build more homes. They had announced that they were going to scale back the development charges, the phasing in of them, and that obviously impacts a lot of the region. And so this is just an informal update. I spoke to Chair Henry yesterday, and he doesn't believe that this will affect, this news will affect this tax cycle, but hopefully next year's and going forward in the future. So anybody asking, that's, the legislation came too late and our budget had already passed. So just want to give that update. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Dyes.
Thank you. Just quickly, it was through the health department recently who have given us an update that they are catching up on immunizations for children in the schools. As you know, we were interrupted by COVID, and we've had a serious outbreak of measles, which has come into Ontario. So they are really encouraging people who have not had, children who have not had their measles shot to get that if they're of the age. And also for COVID as well, the COVID shots are out and they're still encouraging that you get your COVID shot, as there, of course, it kind of changes and morphs into different things every time there's an outbreak. But we've got pretty good coverage now, and it will protect you to, a huge degree that you won't become very, very ill. So they're recommending that, again, you go online if you're concerned about any of those. Any of your immunizations or the COVID shot, there's lots of information on the region's website. Thank you.
Now I'll go to questions. Councillor Bauer, you are there.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. I had a question for Regional Councillor Crawford, a couple of them. So just to clarify, automated cart-based residential garbage collection. So that means, which part is automated?
So the part that's automated is in the garbage truck. So they have now attached arms so that the garbage truck can literally put the arms, the garbage pail is designed so that the operator does not have to get out of the truck. They can actually use the arms to lift it up and pour it in. And this is because in the industry, they're losing more and more people to injuries, and less people want to be, garbage collectors. Because of the injury rate, the demographics are getting older. I know our compost girl is no bigger than I am. So, so there's this whole shift that we need to actually just start to automate the system a little bit better and make it so that it's easier for the operators.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And the other question, so the trucks that are currently collecting, do they all have to be equipped with this stuff?
They may already be equipped. I'm not 100% sure exactly how that, if they already have the ability and we've just never accessed it, or if they have to actually do the adjustments themselves. This all has to go through regional council, so I'm sure there's going to be another full discussion when we get there for the absolute approval, but I can find that information out. I just can't remember if they have it or if they have to put it on.
Okay, thank you.
But it seems to be they want it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had about transit, thanks for the work that you do on that committee. And I know that there were several community meetings about resurrecting some of the lost routes, especially down by the lake, or that I would know about anyway. So just wondering if there's any movement on that you
There's a
can
lot
share.
of movement on it. I think that we're going through the process right now. The optimization routes that were suspended, not removed, they were suspended.
Yep.
they're looking at those first to re-implement. With the knowing what the budget is going to be, they realize that it has caused upheaval for many people. And so those are the routes that they're going to be looking at right away to put back in. May not look like the same number, but they're looking at those seriously and with good optimism that they'll be coming back.
Great, thank you very much.
Specifically, the Lake Driveway.
Awesome,
Yeah,
wonderful, thank you so much. So
Okay.
thanks, those are my questions, and thank you also to RC Lee and RC Dice for the work that you do representing Ajax at the region. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Welcome. I don't see any others in the speakers list. I just have a couple of questions. Councilor Lee, you were referring to the DC referral as, or sorry, them getting rid of the DC referral for up to 5 years. Is that the portion you spoke to Regional Chair Henry about? Really? There you go.
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Just the changes that came out with the Cutting of the Red Tape Act. My understanding was the part of it was to do with the ability for a developer to delay or spread out their DC payments over 5 years. And I believe that phase-in is one of the changes that has been made. I just wonder if you could clarify a little bit. You said it wouldn't affect us this year, but did he give any indication of how it would affect moving forward once it is?
He didn't. So generally, I saw him very quickly last night, and I had just brought it up, and he was just saying he was working with CEO and Commissioner of Finance to kind of figure out. The wording was very vague in the act. So as per usual, we have to kind of get a lot of clarifications from the province before we go with next steps.
Okay.
And
yeah, it was
Diane,
rather interesting since we're talking about it. Oh, there you go, Ms. Valentin.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
Director Valentin, sorry.
There's still a lot of work to interpret the Bill 185 that's come out, but I don't believe that there was the change to the freezing or the phase-in, the 5 years. What I believe the province was looking at was eliminating the discounting of the charge that was implemented over the 5 years.
And that was if they don't have it under construction within 12 to 18 months, I believe it is, they lose that reduction?
That's a different part of the bill as well. So they were looking to reduce the 2-year freeze to 18 months. But I was referring to the DC charge, the discounting of 80% on the first year to 85, that I believe is being eliminated through this bill.
Thank you. And just to Regional Councillor Crawford, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but I have seen some comments. It seems there's some misunderstanding about with the changes to the end user responsibility, who should they contact if there's issues with waste management going forward? And I wonder if you can just expand on that a little bit, because I don't want them to be pointing at the wrong people.
Sure. With the end-use producer taking over for the recycling, that is no longer a regional responsibility. So the replacement of your blue bin, perhaps missed pickups, the end-use producer will have to figure out how they customer service that. We realize there'll be some issues in the turning over of responsibilities, but the ultimate goal will be that whoever the end-use producer chooses, that will be the contact that residents will go with. For the first year, nothing changes at the end of your driveway. So your pickups remain the same, but again, the customer service piece of it is going to be transitioned along with the responsibility of the Blue Box.
I find it, as many of my regional colleagues probably will, that we've been talking about this for over 5 years. I remember Craig.
Since 2016.
The region. And you would have figured that they would have got some of these unknowns figured out by now, because this is not new. So
I think they've spent a lot of time not wanting to do it, which has been the delay.
Right. All right. Any further questions on regional council reports? Seeing none. Just let me Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? By Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Bauer. That the report titled Regional Council's Update, M. Crawford, be received for information. Okay, let's do that one first. So this is the written report by Councillor Crawford. Any questions or comments? No? Can we vote, please? That carries. And then can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by, on the balance of the Regional Council reports, moved by Councillor Tyler Moore and second by Councillor Crawford. That the Regional Council's reports of April 15, 2024 be received for information. Councillor Tyler Moore, did you have a question on those, or is that a... No? Okay. Please vote. And that carries. Moving on to business arising from notice of motion. We have... It's here. Renewed call to recognize the combat the intimate partner violence epidemic, moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Bauer. Councillor Crawford, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This has come out of a very, very sad event that happened on Easter Sunday, where we had a horrible, horrible death at the hand of an intimate partner here in Ajax. I did go down to Queen's Park on Wednesday to hear the debate on intimate partner violence and the bill that the NDP brought forward. The government that morning had, after 2 years, decided to agree that this is an epidemic, so tiny win. However, what was proposed is that this go to committee and an in-depth investigation be done across the province by committee. And you know, what we're saying is we think that that's not necessary. The Renfrew inquest came up with 89 recommendations from the Renfrew murders, and 68 of those could be directly tied to the responsibility of the province. And we think that's a good place to start right there, as opposed to going out to the entire province and talking to the experts again after 2 years. What I would like to also ask in this motion is that that staff be directed to facilitate a roundtable discussion with subject matter experts and local service providers for survivors of intimate partner violence, and to provide guidance on the actions the town can take to combat intimate partner violence in Ajax. And this motion be forwarded to our MPP, the Ministry of Attorney General, and the Ministry of Women's Social and Economic Opportunities in Durham region. So that is my motion.
Oh. Should the...
Sorry, my mic was off. Councillor Bauer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Collier, and thank you, Regional Councillor Crawford, for this motion and for allowing me to second it. You know, what a tragedy. And, you know, when I think about this epidemic in Ontario, which makes me think, you know, we often say what a big world we live in, but it's really a small world. And especially I want to talk about intimate partner violence and an epidemic. It affects us, and sometimes we don't even know that. 6 years ago, I spent New Year's Eve here in Ajax with a group of friends, and I was speaking with one friend named Allison, whose daughter was violently shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend. You know, around the same time, I attended the funeral of the Pechanovsky family because dear friends of mine were their next-door neighbors. And then this terrible incident that just recently happened over the long weekend, dear friends, also another set of dear friends, were best friends with Jennifer Polak. So it's happening here. and it's unbelievable, it's wrong, it's unacceptable, it's unfair. And I think it is our responsibility as council, the least thing we can do is yell with our voices as a motion that this is an epidemic and that something needs to happen. I looked up stats. I just recently heard a stat that 58 women died last year in Ontario from intimate partner violence. So 58, I just did a quick scan of this room, and there's about 30 people in this room. So almost twice the number could fill this room of women who were killed at the hands of their partner. And it's an oxymoron to me, this phrase, intimate partner violence, that these two words could even go together, of someone that you love and are intimate and share secrets with. And then there's violence in your own home many, many times. So I'm very proud to second this motion and to call on the experts to come. We need to make this a stand up and shout issue. Last night's vigil for Jennifer Pollock with her family there was very meaningful to the family and to the residents who attended. And the experts who spoke last night, really struck a chord as well. So we have to talk about this, and we have to give it the light that it deserves, and to honor and pay respect to these victims. So thank you for this motion, and I hope everyone supports it. Thank you, Mayor Collier.
Welcome. Councillor Henry, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. I'd like to start off by thanking Regional Councillor Crawford and Councillor Bauer for bringing this forward. Very good work done on this. And I'd like to also thank Regional Councillor Crawford for putting together the visual last night, and Regional Councillor Lee for holding his composure while he spoke at the event yesterday, because there wasn't a dry eye at Pat Bailey Square. It was very difficult. Last week, I did attend the service for Jennifer Pollock. It was standing room only, out into the hallway, down into the corridor, and again, not a dry eye. Growing up in a home of intimate partner violence, I more than understand why this is necessary, and I'm not going to speak any further about that because that is difficult in itself. But I'd like to thank staff who have been behind the scenes working with regards to the vigil, with regards to helping to bring forth this motion. And I am more than happy to support this, and more than sad that I have to.
I don't see any other speakers on the speaking list. So the motion is on the floor, moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Bauer. Open the vote, please. That carries unanimously. Moving on to our next business arising from notice of motion, increase in the number of judges in Ontario and Canada, moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Henry. Councillor Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. This has made the rounds in the news cycle recently. I think the federal government is remiss in filling in court appointments, and I think there's currently across the country 78 judge vacancies, and this is just the town's way of saying to both the federal government, who's in charge of getting these judges, and then the provincial government, who's in charge of selecting the Ontario component of the judges available, that we need these judges as soon as possible. Police Chief Morera mentioned at this past regional council meeting that there was over 10,000 traffic violations that had to be waived as a result of lack of judges. So that's 10,000 speeders, in theory, drunk drivers that maybe did not meet the full extent of the law. I think the judiciary is an incredibly important part of this political process of, governing, and that's why it's just an ask for the town of Ajax to ask again the feds in the province to get those judges ASAP. And I would appreciate council support on this. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Mayor, your microphone, please.
There we go. Councillor Henry, did you wish to speak to this as a seconder?
Thank
ahead, you have
you.
the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that Councillor Lee has said everything that needs to be said here on this motion. Happy to support.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers. I just have a, hoping what you would consider to be a friendly amendment. Councillor Lee, as you pointed out, federal government appoints judges, the province appoints justices of the peace. And I wonder if you would consider a friendly amendment just in bullet 1, the town of Ajax calls on the federal and provincial governments to fulfill their responsibility to appoint enough judges and justices of the peace to provide timely and complete access to justice, just for clarification. Councillor Lee?
Normally, I am the pedantic one, so I appreciate you finding that mistake. No, 100%, that is an absolutely appropriate friendly amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anything further on this? Just, I guess we don't need on the amendment. That was a friendly. You spoke well as far as to the challenges we are experiencing just at the region of Durham. It's incredibly frustrating as chair of the police board to know the numbers of items where our officers are doing their jobs and these charges are just being dismissed because there is not enough judges and justices of the peace to deal with them in a timely manner. I also want to speak quickly to the bail reform because justices of the peace are the ones that set the bail. And we have a bit of an epidemic there as well. There was over 700 instances of repeat offenses while people were on bail just last year alone in Durham region. So both the sections need to be looked at, not just charges, but also setting appropriate bails, and that also happens in our provincial offense courts. So happy to support this. I don't see any other speakers in the speaking list, so please open the vote, Mr. Clerk. That carries unanimously. In my place here. Okay, moving on to bylaws. Give me 1 second. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the bylaws, please? Councillor Henry, are you moving the bylaws or do you wish to speak to a bylaw?
I wish to speak to a bylaw. I wish to pull 18.2024, and I would like to move to keep the old code of conduct.
Okay, we're not quite there yet. Let's do it this way. Let's get a mover and a seconder for 27 and 28-2024s, and we'll separate 18 and come back to it.
Does that negate me from my pull?
Not at all.
Thank you.
So Councillor Lee and second by Councillor Bauer, that bylaws number 27-2024 and 28-2024 be read a first, second, third time and passed. Anything on those two? Not seeing anything on the speakers list. Please open the vote. Okay, that is carried. I will put myself down as moving 18-2020-24. Can I get a seconder to get it on the floor, please? Seconded by Councillor Tyler Moore. That bylaw number 18-2024 be read a first, second, third time and passed. I'm going to speak to it and then I'll open it up to questions. And Councillor Henry, I have you as, I'll let Councillor Tyler Moore speak as a seconder, then I'll go to you for any potential amendments. So I wish to address a piece of correspondence that was received, an unsolicited piece of correspondence that was received late Friday from our Integrity Commissioner. And I wish to clarify a few points, and I might actually go over to our deputy CAO for some clarification as well. These amendments or these changes to the code of conduct that I brought forward were meant to be sort of an interim stopgap method or process, because we all know that we are undergoing a full comprehensive code of conduct review in 2025. However, for things that happened last year, it became apparent to me that there was, in my opinion, a hole in the system that was allowing or not providing proper reporting back to council, and was not providing proper accountability and transparency to the taxpayers. We were paying significant amounts, and a letter speaks to just the retainer. What we actually paid our integrity commissioners was much, much higher based on complaints. Yet, other than the annual required report in February, we weren't getting any other information back on what the Integrity Commission was actually doing for this money. And to me, that is not transparent or accountable to the taxpayers, to which we are. I also wanted to deal with the $300 figure that was set out maybe 21 years ago in the Code of Conduct, which I ran on, by the way, in 2023, and 2003 was established, wasn't relevant today. And I likened it to kind of the Sunshine List. When that was first put out at 100,000, that was pretty relevant. But today, that number probably isn't as relevant, because that's just look at the number that are on there. So I'm just start with that. I'm going to go through this letter that we received on April the 12th, and just a few comments on this, and then I'll open it up to the clerk for clarification and to members of council. But first of all, this letter speaks to procedural matters, and I just want to discuss this because, to me, commenting, providing advice on procedural bylaw matters isn't within the mandate of the Integrity Commissioner. Council should be relying on Ajax clerks for advice on these matters. Unless the intent of council is unclear, clerks don't interject. But in this case, the intentions and instructions of council were very clear at the last meeting. We referred this back. After the meeting, the clerks had a discussion about the form and the edits would take, and they returned for consideration and decided that a full, clean bylaw made the most sense in the interest of transparency, so that the council could see what was changed. The red lines were circulated by email to all members of council, and questions were invited, and I'm told by the clerks that none were received. So this comment by the IC in this letter that perhaps these weren't followed, or perhaps council didn't have the input, I can't agree with. The Integrity Commissioner, I want to talk to the next section, 223.3, which requires an IC to perform the functions assigned by the municipality, including the application of any procedures, rules, and policies. So while the IC is independent, this part is correct of their letter, they're still responsible for working with the framework established by council. Council sets the code of conduct, which reflects our expectations of the conduct that we expect to be held accountable for. That's our role. And the Integrity Commissioner's role is to apply the code of conduct as decided by council and to provide advice when it is sought. I have to disagree with that piece of this letter, because yes, they are, I guess they don't like the word employee of the town, but technically they are. To the regional clerk, or to the regional code of conduct, which is on page 3 or 4 of this, I think. Our clerks did contact the region just before the last meeting, and the information given at the March council meeting was absolutely correct. There was no plans to bring the code of conduct forward at the region. That has now changed, and I understand in May it is coming on a just to be received, just to sort of test the waters and see. But until that happens, there is no regional code of conduct that change that's coming that's going to affect us. And so we can't be contingent on that. We need to run Ajax. We need to do our thing. We never followed the code of conduct before about the reporting. Now we are. Based on the Integrity Commissioner's recommendations, they said it didn't make sense to follow it in the past, but sort of stop and start fresh. And that's where one of my amendments came from. The $1,000 is basically like throwing a dart at a dartboard. It was just a number. It was recommended by the clerk. I don't really care what it is, but 300 is not the right number. I think we can all agree. There may be a motion coming that would reduce it from 1,000 to 500 or 600. I can support that. But I just don't think 300 is relevant in today's day and age, kind of like as I spoke to the Sunshine List and that 100,000. And when it speaks to the more nuanced approach of the regional code of conduct, if that does occur, as I said, our code of conduct is due for a full review in 2025. We'll examine this. We will look at what the region's recommendations are, and if they work with us, I'm assuming that this will be integrated into ours, or ours will be modified to align. But we don't have that right now. And as I said, this is meant to be a stopgap between now and then. So, I mean, the rest is just a matter of, I mean, some of these comments are subjective, and I know our clerks don't disagree with them. I trust our clerk to give advice on this. I'll open it up. Did I misspeak on anything? Sorry, I don't want to say Director Cooper, Deputy CAO Cooper, on any of these before I open it up. I just want to make sure I'm not giving incorrect information.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. There were maybe a couple little details in there that I would clarify. I mean, I think most of your commentary reflects your views, but just maybe a couple little technical things. I would say that the Integrity Commissioner should not be considered an employee. They are an independent officer under the Municipal Act, which is different. Some of the commentary around the costs may have been a little ambiguous as well. We have incurred a lot of costs sort of tangentially related to code of conduct complaints, but that fall into other areas now. So maybe a little bit of clarification on the costs, but I don't know that we need to really get into that today or how material it is to the discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Tyler Moran, as a seconder, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, just as a member of council, we have turned to staff thousands of times, probably in my time here. And, you know, most times you take staff recommendations. Most time you relish them. You encourage, you know, like just you want to hear their opinion. Sorry, not their opinion, but their direction. The LAS and the clerk's office, and in particular our deputy CAO, has been, in my opinion, particularly reasonable and measured and very, very level-headed. And so it means something to me that that whole world, that department, agrees with the, you know, the tweaks. And like you say, it is sort of reassuring to know that if there's some things that we need to adjust, that opportunity is going to come in the next probably 12 to 16 months when the entire thing is reviewed. So for all those reasons, that, you know, that's why I'm okay with the way it's sitting, and happy to support.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to questions. Councillor Henry, you have the floor.
Thank you. So is this now the time that I move to keep the old code of conduct?
If you would like to move an amendment, yes, now is when you would move that amendment.
Then I would like to do so now, please.
To you, Mr. Mayor.
Actually, the clerk has just come on.
Mm-hmm. To you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Henry. Just a clarification, if you would like to suggest keeping the current code of conduct, it would be voting against today's bylaw to not enact the bylaw. There would not be an amendment put forward today to put the previous code of conduct on the floor, as that is your current code of conduct.
So I see Councillor Lee with his hand up. Could we address his question? I think there's a point of clarification.
Okay, you don't have any further questions at this?
No, I want to move it, but I want to hear his point of clarification on what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, he's not next in the speaker's list, so we're going to go to Councillor Crawford if you're done.
I guess clarification. Sorry, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. By voting against this, we'd also be voting against the increased limits. So is it possible to separate the two?
So that would be an amendment, through you, Mr. Chair, that would be an amendment put forward, so.
Another amendment.
Correct. So I believe what Councillor Henry is putting forward right now is to keep the current code of conduct. I'll let her speak to that. And if she would like to keep the current code of conduct, it would be in its entirety.
Okay.
If there's an amendment to the code of
We can
conduct
then
that's
change that
on,
afterwards.
you can put in, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So then I would like to have the entirety of the code of conduct before bringing this forward. Does that make sense?
It looks like I'm frozen. One second.
You just vote against it?
So from what I can hear myself, so I guess I'm not frozen. From what the clerk has said, if you want the current code of conduct in its entirety to maintain, you would vote no on the amendments that are on the floor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
So then no.
I'm just gonna
So then no change.
turn my microphone off and
So then just do the amendment as
there we go.
an amendment as to leave the code of conduct as was.
So three, yeah, so
To
through
vote
you.
against it. Sorry, to vote against it.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Henry, if that's your prerogative, you would vote against today's bylaw, and your vote would be to not enact the current bylaw that's on the floor today, and the one that is currently enacted as your current code of conduct would stand.
And we
if
do that
passed.
now, or we let everyone speak prior to? Okay. Thank you.
Everyone would speak prior to.
Okay, so with that being said, then I would like to point out in the code of conduct a few things, sorry, in the submission we received from the Integrity Commissioner, a few things. And one of them is, a higher universal gift limit will diminish transparency, not increase it. And I speak to this with respect to the mayor's comments with comparing this to a salary on a sunshine list. A gift is not part of a payment to a counselor. A gift is something that once received should be documented. And there's a reason for that, and there's a reason for not increasing it. Because as the Integrity Commissioner has stated, it will diminish transparency, not increase it. We don't have to increase to report things. And it doesn't mean we've done something wrong, by the way, by taking a gift. We're working within the rules and regulations as best we know them. There's nothing wrong with reporting a gift. I don't see it as a bad thing. With regards to fact-checking that was in this report, and Commissioner's statements here, to require an Integrity Commissioner to bring informal resolutions to council is to publicize, facilitate, weaponize of an independent process. There should be no rule for council to decide whether an informal resolution should be implemented. And I think when we speak to that, we could all see how that could really play out. I'm understanding why this motion was brought forward. I don't think it was with ill intention. But I still cannot support any part of the original motion brought forward, or any change at this time. We're going to be doing a review next year. Let the code of conduct stand as is till then, and let's see what happens at the regional level as well. There's time for this. I cannot support this, any changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person on the speaking list is Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make an amendment to reduce the amount of the gift portion of this from 1,000 to 500. I feel the...
Just one sec. Do we have a seconder?
Yes,
Who's your seconder?
Councillor Moore.
Tyler Moore. Okay, please go ahead.
I feel that the 1,000 was too high I think that if we're basing it on Toronto's code of conduct, they kind of are in a different world than us. And I feel that $500, I mean, to be honest with you, I pay for 90% of the gala tickets that I get. They're not gifts. So, and I feel that that is a more reasonable amount within this gift portion of the bylaw. So that is my amendment.
Councillor Tyler Moore, did you wish to speak to this?
Yes. The analogy or metaphor that I'll use is crossing the border. Remember, if you'd went to, cross at Niagara Falls or Buffalo, I think it was $250 for 24 hours. And finally now, it's now, I think, $750. So it's the same kind of thing. So I'm comfortable with the 500. It's a bit of a bump, and I think it's more realistic. Again, our deputy CAO spoke about even the 1,000 being reasonable, but not putting words in anybody's mouth. So yeah, happy to support it. $500 seems like a reasonable amount with 2003, as you said, Mr. Mayor, the $300. So yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bauer, you're in the speakers list. Do you want to speak to the amendment?
No, I do not want to speak to the amendment, Mayor Collier. I was just in line to speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so just let's deal with the amendment and I'll come back to you. Press your button again, Councillor Bauer. Anybody else wish to speak on the amendment? Okay, I will just comment briefly because Councillor Henry did bring up a good point. I don't even think of it of gifts because we don't get gifts. I mean, I get sometimes somebody to drop off a basket or a bottle of wine at Christmas, and generally I put candy and whatever out for everybody in the office just to have. So, I mean, that's about the extent of any gifts that I'm aware of. But what we're referring to mostly is in performing our duties. A big part of our duties is attending public functions, and often we are invited by members of the business community, members of different groups who potentially, let's call the Board of Trade, have bought a table at the Board of Trade. Say they bought a table for $3,000, there's 10 seats, that would represent about a $300 value to the councillor attending. You are there still doing your job. It's not a gift, as I would call it, but it's a sponsorship, it's a support, just like a contribution to a election is a contribution and a support. And over a certain amount, I think absolutely should be supported. I just felt that the 300 was too low based on it's been in the works for 20 years and hasn't been adjusted. The 1,000, as I said, was just a number that was arbitrarily picked and I thought was okay based on advice, but I'm happy to support the 500. As I said, this isn't, we're going to be looking at this again in another year and having a full redo. But in the interim, I'm happy to support this as an interim measure just to make it a little more relevant to today. I also don't want to see this turn into a bit of a logistical nightmare for our staff and the clerk's department trying to keep track of every event that council's invited to and is reporting now just based on doing our regular jobs. So I felt that it was justified in increasing the limit. Just leave it at that. Councillor Bauer, is your hand up again? Oh, sorry, that's to speak after. Does anybody else wish to speak to the amendment? Okay. Hearing, seeing none, let's open the vote on the amendment, which is to reduce from the 1,000 to the 500. Okay, that carries. Moving on to Councillor Bauer on the main motion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Collier.
On the bylaws, sorry.
Absolutely, thank you. So thank you, Ms. Grassi, to the clerk for sending this information out and putting the changed items in red. That's very helpful. So, and these all came about as a result of the conversation at last meeting. So I just wanted to confirm. So I didn't think that we asked that council would be the deciding body if an informal complaint procedure was followed. I think we just asked that option be included in the bylaw. So I just want to, and I don't think that you said that, but I heard it during our discussion. So I just want to confirm that that is right.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. I can address that. Yes, you did hear that correctly, and that is how it's phrased in the Integrity Commissioner's letter, that the suggestion that council would now have a role in deciding whether an informal resolution should be implemented. That is not how I read the red line edits to the bylaw. To me, this is simply asking that where there are informal resolutions, council be given some high-level information on those instances, but not playing a decision-making role. So I don't know where that came from, but that's not how I read the bylaw that's before you today.
Okay, thank you. I agree with that statement. And the addition of the reporting, which really just changes optional to mandatory, either annually or at certain points of the term, does not speak to breaking any confidentiality or any kind of information that, you know, we could use against each other or that residents could use against council or other residents. Like it's just a matter of providing the information so that council understands what the role or the decisions of the Integrity Commissioner were. And I think that speaks to accountability and transparency for us. Do I understand that correctly?
CEO Cooper, or Deputy CEO Cooper?
Yes, we've drafted it with that intent. So certainly in producing those red lines, there was no intention to subvert the Integrity Commissioner's duty of confidentiality. I think council understands that duty and respects that duty, and certainly so do staff. It was really just a reflection of the discussion I heard at council that they're interested in, at a high level and with respect to that duty of confidentiality, understanding some of the activities that are occurring, and just having more insights into the various activities that are generating some costs.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that's important to understand. The Integrity Commissioner is not our employee. I agree with that statement. However, the town does spend money on the IC and their services. So I think understanding, you know, a little more fulsomely the role that the IC plays and the kind of information or things that are happening that cause the IC to become involved, I feel is important for me and members of council to understand that without breaking any of the conduct rules or breach of confidentiality, etc. So this review that's coming in 2025, do you expect that code of conduct will be reviewed and completed in 2025?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bauer. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to clarify this. So our code of conduct has a provision in it that requires that it undergoes a comprehensive review every 5 years. We are due to conduct that review in 2025, and we intend to. We haven't gotten to the detailed 2025 work plan yet, so I hadn't really thought about whether that would be commenced in 2025 or at which point and when it would be completed. But understanding this is an item of importance to council, we'd be happy to commit to completing that exercise in 2025. Of course, we are waiting to see how this conformity exercise that's referenced in the letter plays out with the region of Durham. We are actively engaged in that process. In fact, Mr. McWilliam has been probably one of the most active participants in providing input into that new code or proposed new code, asking questions. So we remain very open-minded about that process. We're just waiting to, there's obviously an order of operations that has to happen here. We're waiting to see if that gets through the region, at which point it's certainly our intention to have council consider the proposed new code. But either way, there will be a full exercise by next year to look at the code, look at things like gifts and benefits and the thresholds there, and make sure that it's in alignment with the best practices that we're currently seeing in the sector.
All right, okay. Thank you very much. Excellent information for me. Okay, I think my questions have been answered, and the meaning of our code and how it is to be followed and what accountability we are expecting, I think has been fulfilled. Okay, Thank you. And just not on the bylaw, but thank you to Regional Councillor Crawford and Tyler Morin for changing that because I thought 1,000 was too high too. Thank you, Mayor Collier.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you asking those questions, Councilor Bauer, and I agree with what the clerk said as far as the interpretations of the red line. That was my intent as well, not to undermine and certainly not to influence in any way, but just to add transparency by reporting back. Next item, or next speaker is Councillor Crawford. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. My comments are around the reporting of the informal complaints. And I think this is important. Again, it does show transparency. And I also think that it gives us an opportunity to reflect on our own actions because not everyone is going to have an integrity commissioner complaint against them. But that doesn't mean that we're all really good. I mean, we strive to be good. We strive to work within the code of conduct. But let's face it, sometimes you think, you know, maybe you go outside of that and you don't even realize it. And an opportunity to see an informal complaint may give you an opportunity to reflect on your own actions. And so I feel that it's a good check-in point for each of us to be able to see what those complaints are personally. So I'm in favor of that still being reported. Thank you.
And Councillor Henry, you are next.
Thank you. I'm just going to read an excerpt from this. Not only are these modifications wholly undermining of the independent function and confidentiality obligations of an integrity commissioner, they will discourage early and informal resolution of complaints even where appropriate course correction has been achieved. The modification will also force disclosure of confidential information, including identities of parties and the nature of confidential advice that has been provided in the face of a statutory duty to the contrary. To the extent that cost has been identified as a justification for the proposals contained in the motion, the cost to the taxpayers will surely increase with the perspective of more complaints being brought against councillors. Bracket, since the allegations will be required to be published, thus potentially shaming blameless councillors, end bracket, with fewer complaints being resolved informally and with increased reporting obligations. And I'll end my thought on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me, Crawford, you want to get back in?
Yes, please. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to our Deputy CAO. The previous Integrity Commissioner listed all complaints and was reported to Council, correct?
Well, so under the previous Integrity Commissioner, he was administering the same code and actually was probably the main party in helping council to draft that code, very involved in the language in it. So nothing has changed formally as far as process. This is just sort of my subjective observation, but different Integrity Commissioners have different approaches, and I think it's fair to say that Principal's integrity compared to our last Integrity Commissioner is a big proponent of informal resolution, dealing with things via coaching, training, disposition letters. So I would say the style is different, although the sort of prescribed process has not changed.
So there's nothing wrong with what the previous Integrity Commissioner did via whatever this paragraph that was just read?
I wouldn't say so. In my view, he was a very good Integrity Commissioner.
So I guess it's like a lawyer, like they are lawyers. You can talk to a million and they all have their own opinion. But the reality is what was being done in the past term was not illegal and not breaking confidentialities. And if I recall, no one had any issues with Mayor Collier getting all of the complaints and being read out loud, if I recall that, in the last term. So, you know, I think it's interesting that now all of a sudden it's a confidentiality issue. However, it wasn't a confidentiality issue last term.
Just for clarification there, before I go to Councilor Bauer again. This is more about the informal resolutions, and in the past, when an informal resolution occurred, we didn't even know about it. There was no reporting back to council at all. It was just like it was a non-event. A complaint was made. The integrity commissioner, from my understanding, since there was an informal resolution, decided that there was a contradiction to the code of conduct and dealt with it separately. To me, if there's a violation of the code of conduct, whether it's dealt with through formal or through this resolution process, it should still be reported back. And that's all this change does. That's all it does. It doesn't give all the information. A lot of what Councillor Henry read was subjective on the side of the integrity commissioner. That's their interpretation. That's not our clerk's interpretation. So just to clarify there. Councillor Bauer, you were right almost at the limit. I think you were at about 4:45. So be brief, please.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. To quote Councillor Tyler Morin, I'll be brief.
10 seconds.
Yeah. So I dare to say that this letter and perhaps that paragraph that was just read is based on the assumption that council was going to be making the decision on what complaints were informal or if they were to be resolved informally or formally. And in that lens, it's a very different response, in my opinion. So I just wanted to make that comment because it needed to be, I needed to say it. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay, we have a motion moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Tyler Morin on the floor as amended. Oh, Councillor Dice?
I just wanted to speak to the motion when you're finished.
Oh, please.
I wasn't sure about the timing. Well, a couple of things I find very interesting, and the integrity commissioners, I think, are a great idea because in a democratic process where you have community that want to lodge a complaint about any of us here, they can do it knowing that the information will be confidential. And I think that's the key. A lot of people may feel a little bit threatened or uncomfortable with it, but feel they have a need to go to the integrity commissioner, and why shouldn't they? It's confidential and there's no retribution. And an informal resolution is helpful because you can see an end, or you've come to a meeting of the ways and you don't have to go through a longer process. Why wouldn't you go through an informal resolution? I don't need to know who's made the complaint against me because, again, it's confidential and it's to reassure our residents and our, these citizens here in Ajax that they can lodge a complaint if they feel it's necessary, and we have someone who's a third party, not affiliated with us, that can make that decision and go through that conversation. And I think that's really what this is all about. And I think the reason we're getting more complaints is because they don't feel that they're being heard. And it should be a process that's welcomed. And I don't see the point in going and looking at it now, quite frankly. I mean, I'm pretty strong about how I feel about this. But, we're going to do a review next year. Just wait, do the review, see what happens. Things change, I get that. But again, I think this is about confidentiality and making our residents feel that they can lodge a complaint or have a concern that they can express without retribution and without politics getting in the way. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lee for a second time.
I think it's the first time. My first time is a point of order, to be honest. Just a clarification, one last time.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
We will not break confidentiality, correct? No. Sorry, I just want to hear the clerk say it out loud.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lee, of course. Yeah, this will not be breaking confidentiality if you move forward with the proposed code today.
Right. So, I mean, ultimately, I agree with Councillor Dyes in terms of the informal process, but I also think that if there's no confidentiality broken, then residents are still able to lodge these complaints with the comfort of knowing that their identities will not be revealed if they are uncomfortable with that. So I also agree with Councillor Dyes ultimately, though, this is going to be reviewed next year anyways. It seems like a lot of make busy work. What's the phrase the mayor used where it's a problem from a solution or something towards that extent that we didn't really have. Like this, I didn't really feel we had a problem before last month, and now here we are spending over hours just talking about this. Our clerk seems okay with it. I get the IC's point. I think I will support it, and I'm pleading to the clerks that the next code of conduct in 2025 is more ironclad and bulletproof and will not allow this kind of, I mean, it should encourage the debate, but hopefully it will not result in hours of debate. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I see nobody else in the speaker's box. So on the motion as amended, please open the vote. Not the motion, the bylaw as amended. That carries. Back to my other screen here. That concludes bylaws. Is there any notice of motion? Not seeing any. Any new business or announcements? Councillor Lee.
Just on the, I just had it, I apologize, the May 9th in the morning at 7:45 a.m., Girls Inc. is having their Spirit of Girls breakfast. There's an opportunity for people who are either familiar or brand new to Girls Inc. to experience what the different programming and options that Girls Inc. offers. It's a great community event. It'll be at the Audley Recreation Center at 7:45 to 9 a.m. Hope to see council and residents there. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Lee, I believe also on May 9th, you'll be attending for me at the Ajax Pickering Hospital for receipt of the items purchased through the last Mayor's Golf Tournament. I guess just make sure that's in your schedule. Moving on next, Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Ward 3 has our ward meeting coming up on Tuesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. It will be a hybrid option and registration is required, please, which you can find that information on the town's website. And just an FYI that Para Search and Rescue will be holding its annual AGM on Thursday, April 25th at the Marina, and I think it might also be a hybrid if you want to tune in and see the action there. And that is everything for now. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tyler Moore, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, Monday, April 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m., McLean Community Center, 95 McGill Drive. Please join myself and Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford and members of the Durham Regional Police for a community discussion. We have these often, and hopefully we can see some new people and come on out. Durham Regional Police are always interesting to speak to directly, and yeah, so that's Monday, April 22nd, 2024, 7 p.m., McLean Center. Thank you.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you. This is not until May, but I am bringing it up now because there was a change in the Ward 2 schedule for our Ward 2 meeting. It will be happening on May 28th, and because it's a change in schedule, I'm bringing it up now at this meeting and the next. Thank you.
Don't see anybody else in the speakers list. Moving on to the confirming bylaw. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the confirming bylaw, please? Moved by Councillor Bauer, second by Councillor Lee. That the bylaw number 29-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the Town of Ajax at its meeting held on April 15, 2024, be read a first, second, third time, and pass. Please vote. Carries. Finally, can I get a mover and a seconder for adjournment, please? Moved by Councillor Dyes, second by Councillor Tyler Morin. That the April 15, 2024 meeting of the Council of the Town of Ajax be adjourned. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.